Now the tragedy here is that the religious people got hold of the Bible. They got hold of the scriptures. I don't know why, but they did. Now the Bible doesn't belong in church any more than it belongs in a whorehouse. Now the religious people, these pagans, these idol worshippers, these people that practice fairy tales and worship the sun and the moon and the stars, picked up the Hebrew scriptures, and now they claim that this is our religious book and we get our teachings from this book. And of course the evolution, anybody with a brain, anybody whose intelligence is anywhere above 80 looks at this and says, God, this is nuts. Oh, I got to agree with you, evolutionists. That's an understatement to say that religion is nuts. Yeah, I agree. But they didn't get this religion out of the Bible. That's my point. The Bible told you the straight facts, and you rejected it because it came from this crazy religious guy over here who's practicing fairy tales. He probably means well. I mean, a lot of those religious guys probably are sincere people who believe in those fairy tales. They just never grew past Santa Claus. They still believe in the religious fairy tales that they've learned from ancient tradition. Now listen to these. History records the words of Hyginus the Egyptian, who was librarian at the Palestine Library in Rome during the time of Caesar Augustus. An egg of wondrous size is said to have fallen from heaven into the river Euphrates. The fishes rolled it to the bank, where the doves, having settled upon it and hatched it, out came Venus, who afterwards was called the Syrian goddess. That Syrian goddess supposedly hatched from the egg was Astarte, from whom the title Easter came. Okay. Now, that's a neat story. It rivals, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Hansel and Gretel and maybe Cinderella. An egg fell out of the sky, and it was hatched by the fishes, and out came Venus, and here comes Astarte. Here comes Easter. Well, okay. That's a real neat story. Christmas is a real neat story. Just like the sun is burning 5 feet an hour, and dinosaurs died 65 million years ago. Those are all real neat stories. The tragedy of it is that they're all fantasies. They're not true. That isn't where reality is located. It's kind of like Barney and Big Bird on Sesame Street. It's a fantasy world that we foist off on our children. It isn't that the children are picking up on fantasies. We are teaching these fantasies to our children. Hell, we believe in these fantasies as adults, for crying out loud. Well, isn't it time that somebody came down to earth and said, hey, wait a minute, let's take a look at the emperor riding that horse over there. He looks like he's buck-ass naked to me. He don't have any clothes on. Now, come on, kids, we're all adults now. Let's pay attention to reality here. To conclude, the pagan festival of Easter originated as the worship of the sun goddess, the Babylonian queen of heaven, who was later worshipped under many names, including Ishtar, Sybil, Adia Mater, the Great Mother, or Astarte, for whom the celebration of Easter is named. Easter is not another name for the feast of the Passover, and it's not celebrated at the biblically prescribed time for Passover, and the Jews don't practice the Passover. They observe it. They don't practice it. There's 52 elements to practicing the Passover. They don't do it either. This pagan festival was Christianized several hundred years after Christ. Oh, I ought to point out, his name wasn't Christ either. I know that's another story for another day, but there's no biblical authority for the celebration of Easter. So consider the implications of the following scripture upon the church today. In Malachi 3, verses 6 and 7, he says, I am the eternal, and I change not. Even from the days of your fathers, you're gone away from my ordinances. You have not kept them. Now return unto me, and I will return unto you, says the Eternal of hosts. But you said, wherein shall we return? Now the people had gone away from the ways of the God of the Bible, and he called for them to return. And they said, well, wherein shall we return? They did not think that they were doing anything wrong. The same thing's going on today. Pagan practices are being proclaimed to be Christian in nature, and many think there's nothing wrong with them. Now once more, the Creator pleads with his people to disassociate from the Babylonian apostasy, which says, come out of her, my people, that you receive not of her plagues, in Revelation 18, verse 4. All right, so there's the story on Easter. Now listen, that's one pagan festival. That's one fairy tale. Now Christmas is another. Yeah, that's another Christian fairy tale. Listen to this. The traditional customs connected with Christmas have developed from several sources as a result of the coincidence of the celebration of the birth of Christ with the pagan agricultural and solar observations at midwinter. In the Roman world, the Saturnalia, December the 17th, was a time of merrymaking and exchange of gifts. December 25th was also regarded as the birth date of the Iranian mystery god Mithra, the sun, spelled S-U-N, of righteousness. That's a quotation from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now here's the way you foist this off. See, you've got son, S-O-N, in English. Son, the offspring of parents. A male child born to parents is called a son, S-O-N. Sounds just like sun, S-U-N, that orb up in the sky that gives us heat. All right. So these people worship the sun, the S-U-N. So when the Son of God, the S-O-N, comes, they say, oh, we are worshiping the Son of God. So on Easter Sunday morning, they get up and they go out and face the east while the sun is coming up to worship the Son, the S-U-N, of God. Well, okay, that's real cute. But it's a fairy tale. Wake up, boys and girls, it's a fairy tale. Now, I'm not here to tell you not to believe in your fairy tales. That's fine by me. I don't come here and ridicule and make fun of people. I just come here to reveal information. You can do with the information whatever you want. I'm not giving you an altar call and telling you to come give your heart to Jesus today. I'm not saying, just send your love offerings to the law school. Hell, I don't need your money. I'm not asking for it. I don't need your support. If I got your support, I'd have to teach what you want me to teach with your money. Take your money and perish with it. I'm a reporter. I came here to report facts. There's a lot of fairy tales running around out there. I thought I would reveal to you some of these fairy tales that most of us participate in, like Christmas, Easter, and New Year's, and the rapture, and these are religious fairy tales. Now, yesterday I castigated the evolutionists. Those are fairy tales. You didn't evolve from green algae, boys and girls. You were specifically created by somebody who's pretty damn smart. Pretty talented guy came here. He's making a creation, and this creation is pretty neat. Sun works real good. The earth is just the right distance from the sun to keep us warm, but not too hot, not too cold. We've got soil out here that produces food which we have to eat. Evolution says, well, it's just a coincidence. Well, I don't think so. And this creator, he doesn't think so. He said, I've made everything, and it was good. I took a look around the world, and it looks pretty good to me. I looked at my body. It works very well. It works real good. I move my fingers, and they move very well. There's no accident involved there. I've got this opposing thumb on my hand. Works very well for me to become a tool maker. I'm a plumber by trade. Yep, works real good. And, of course, my fairy tale mentors, they tell me, well, it all just evolved that way, just fortuitous circumstance. I call it the miracle of random selection. Just take a look at all the miracles of random selection that are out there.